From we had the first set of invasion where they crowded in Agua. We went down to Agua to investigate. I spoke to the Haitian nationals that they had apprehended, and most of them they apprehended because they shipwrecked, not because of any intervention. And some they did intervene, but those persons, made it clear to us that they had 1,000 boats go out and leave one time. In different directions.
Is that right?
Yeah, and that sounds phenomenal.
1,000 boats in different directions, all headed for wherever.
Yeah, most of them through our waters, but others, some went to another direction, South America, sorry, Central America, etc., to try to walk over the border. A lot of them came to our waters. We caught a few, but if you walk around and pay attention in Abaco, even in Nassau, you're seeing more and more and more of them. New faces. You go to food stores.
That's Lincoln Bean. Lincoln Bean talking with us a short time ago on some other matters as it relates to immigration matters in our country. But guess what? Today, we're not talking about immigration at all. We're talking about what the government is doing in this country called the Bahamas. And right now, everybody's saying, wait a second, what's going on here? Because it seems like Brave Davis and company have decided that they're going to now hold an election coming up as far as they're concerned. They're looking at 2026, and they talked about this election so much so that people are now thinking that this is what they're dealing with. This is the narrative that they're now spinning. The narrative is now that they want to see whatever's happening in this country and check stock. They want to see exactly where they're standing as far as the Bahamian people are concerned. So, what say you? How do you feel about what they are dealing with right now? I mean, maybe right now it is not election time. We cannot decide when it's going to be election time because Brave Davis holds the key. But the fact is, they're 2 years into the election thing, 2.5 years thereabouts. And it looks as if he wants to pull off a Hubert Minnis situation, and he's going to go for this election more earlier than later. And so, what is actually happening right now? Lincoln Bain has come up with something of a situation here where he wants to see what they're looking like. What do you grade them? How are you grading them right now? And this is a good show for the Sunday afternoon event because on Lincoln Bain's Live today, he asks that question. What do you think that they're doing these days? Are they ready to see exactly what's going to happen here in this country? And are they in any shape to really win an election? That's a big question. Even the PLPs are asking the same question among themselves. What do you mean we're talking election? We had a whole thing they're saying now. We had this big conference the other day in New Providence saying that battle stations, beware, battle stations, get it together because we're getting ready for the elections. In some ways, you kind of like take it for a joke, but you've got to do something that I said on the Hard Copy show earlier. If you hear the PLPs saying things like, get ready, elections are coming, you better get ready. Lincoln Bain and those had better get ready. The Free National Movement had better get ready because anything can happen these days. The way that things are going right now in the government, anything can happen. You don't know when Brave Davis may call the election. He may very well call the election just like that, in the snap of a finger. And so you must be ready. And so there's serious talk now about what's going to happen if, in fact, the elections roll around here in our beautiful country. And so we begin with the Rise theme. Herb Albert, Tijuana Brass, as Lincoln Bain comes to the show, brings you the good news, tells you exactly what to expect this time around in the Bahamas. Good afternoon, Lincoln Bain.
Good afternoon, Steve McKinney, and good afternoon, Bahamas. It is so good to be here. Welcome, welcome, welcome to everyone watching from around the world. It is Sunday the 30th of June, 2024. And of course, you will know by now that last week Last week, the Prime Minister declared election season open, and he told all his troops to get together. So what we want to do as a responsible opposition, we are the real opposition in this country. And so what we want to do is we want to assess the government's performance over the last 3 years. We want to know, you are now declaring that you are entering into campaign mode. Is it time for you to be campaigning, or should you still be governing? So what we want to know is, why are you entering into campaign mode? What have you done? And we're going to highlight the things that the government has done, and we're going to highlight those things based on what they said they would do. Now, I know people have had these kinds of shows, and they have just talked about, what the government has done in immigration, or what the government has done in healthcare, and et cetera, and they've graded them. But no, we actually did something different. Steve, I am a computer scientist, and so I decided to let artificial intelligence help us to determine what the government has done. Yes, this is a high-tech show today. So not just the opinions of people, but we're going to get a neutral view from artificial intelligence. And that is how we calculated this. So in studio with me today, we have my deputy leader, Dr. Veronica McIver, and we also have our chairman, Ms. Charlotte Green. And we're going to have some other people join us online once we get to the technical stuff. But we are going to be talking about all of this today. All right. And so this is not going to be just the COI's view or just the caller's view. This is, and we're probably going to need 2 hours for this show. But we are going to hear from artificial intelligence. And so what we did was we entered the blueprint for change. We submitted it into artificial intelligence, and we told them to analyze the document.
Is that right?
And we told them to analyze all of the promises that was made, each item on that list. And by each item on that list, we wanted them to then search the World Wide Webs and search government databases to see what the Progressive Liberal Party has accomplished. So, for example, if they said they were going to build a school in Ragged Island, artificial intelligence searched all of the news.
Are you saying that they may have bitten off more than they can chew?
Boy, we're going to see in a minute. We're going to see. And so artificial intelligence searched the news to see if that school was actually built that they promised, and then it gave them a grade based on it. All right.
And so,
yes, that's what it does. And so this is not biased by any human. The only thing that I inputted to artificial intelligence was I gave them the blueprint for change, 1. And 2, I told them to give the government a 0 if they did not accomplish the thing, and a 1 if they did accomplish the thing. All right. That's called binary in computer science. But what we wanted was trinary. All right. Trinary, which means 3 options. And so there's also a -1 if they actually did the thing, but in a negative way. So, for example, the artificial intelligence noticed that we got the promise of VAT being reduced to 10%. Okay, but they increase VAT on other things that are more used, and they increase it to 10% from 0. And so not only did artificial intelligence tell me that the government is going to make more from VAT and we're going to pay more VAT because of it, it actually calculated it. It let me know that is a negative result. All right. So based on that, they can get a -1 if they did the thing in a negative way, or they can get a 0 if they didn't do it, or if they got if they did it, they get a 1. All right. So that's the 3 options. And it calculated all of these things. There's 333. Wow, 33. 3, that's half of 666. They got 333 items on their blueprint for change. And it calculated and gave a grade for each one of those things. And I am going to try to speed read through those things so that you can see what the actual algorithm gave them for each of those things and what their final grade was, so that we can discuss it.
Some heavy stuff, man. Sounds like
so. This is going to be interesting today to see what artificial intelligence thinks about the results of the Progressive Liberal Party. Also, it also reminded me that the government is not just the executives or the governing party. It's also the opposition. They also have a job to do. But on this show, we won't be able to get to the opposition. We'll save that for another show, because we also graded the opposition. based on some parameters. So before we get started, I'm going to introduce Dr. Veronica MacGyver and Ms. Charlotte Green. Welcome to the show.
Welcome everyone.
Awesome. How do you like what we're going to do today?
Well, Lincoln, you surprised me when you came up with this, A1 stuff, because I graded them before I came here.
Yes.
And so my own wouldn't be as sophisticated.
Mm-hmm.
But I can tell you one thing. I read their blueprint again before coming here.
Yes.
And I think it's 29 pages long. But I can be honest with everybody who's listening. I got to page 24. And I couldn't take it anymore.
No.
I had to close it because what I found out, they didn't even do about 10% of what they had said they were going to do.
Not even close.
And I mean, that's what I speculated. That's why I'm not A1 intelligent.
Yeah.
But also too, I realized that they did about 10% of what they proposed to do, or they were just starting to do it, but haven't completed it.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if you want me to give my grade so early in the show.
Not yet. We'll get to that. We left in the AI, then all of us will talk. All right. We'll try to speed through this. Miss Green, how you doing today?
I'm wonderful. Good
Awesome.
evening,
So you ready for AI?
yes, I am.
Okay.
Yes, I am.
All right. So we're gonna get straight to it. If you're watching from wherever you're watching, I know there's someone else just tuning in. Okay. We also have some persons gonna be tuning in from the Family Islands. I know we have Shandakan Wilson just joined us. From Eleuthera, Shandakan Wilson, welcome to the show.
Thank you, everyone. Good evening.
Awesome. Shandakan Wilson was the first president of the Customs Union. He's living in Eleuthera. I think it's Harbor Island right now, where they're going through a lot of problems in Eleuthera. I don't even know how y'all are making it.
Water problems and everything else. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we have all kinds of problems here in Eleuthera. In fact, here on Harbor Island, they haven't collected the garbage in 7 days now.
What?
Yep. And the thing is, if you get somebody now to take your garbage out for you, the person who has the contract, he's still going to be paid, but you now have to pay somebody else to take your garbage out.
Wow, man.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Have my deepest sympathy. You live in the Bahamas, man. Country where nothing works. Yeah, I know Dr. Maz used to always say the country where God lives. Boy, I don't know how y'all could treat God like this. But we can fix that today. So Shandakan, of course, we expect someone else to join, but we used AI to actually calculate the government's performance, as you heard me was saying before. And so what we're gonna do is we're gonna read off the results of what the AI found, and actually based on the results that they found, the AI actually wrote a statement to talk about the government's performance based on the blueprint for change. All right. So I'm going to speed read through that as fast as I can. So that's going to probably take about 20 minutes to 25 minutes for me to get through all of that, because it's 333, half of 666, 333 items on there. So I'm going to speed read through this as fast as possible. All right. So remember, if you're just tuning in, please share this. A lot of people would have been on here before we started, so they don't know they have to refresh their page to see it. So we'll see what happens. But if you're just tuning in, the government would get a 0 if they did not accomplish the thing. They would get a 1 if they did accomplish the thing. And they would get a -1 if they did the thing but did something in a negative way. All right. So that's how it calculated it, and it gave me the following results. All right. And so this one's going to be interesting. So I wonder if I should share this on the screen. No, I'll just go through as fast as I can. Their blueprint for change, section 1, they talk about rescuing the economy. There are 10 sections because they thought about a 10-point plan. And so first they talk about rescuing the economy. And so on the first one, they say they're going to immediately begin a comprehensive review of the taxation regime in the Bahamas. And so we get number 0 because we don't see anything in taxation regime, I guess, that gives any benefit to the Bahamian people. So they got a 0 on that based on AI searching through all of the articles and everything that was public. They got a 0. Next, the VAT, reduced VAT to 10%. They got a -1. And the reason that they got a -1 is because they reduced VAT to 10%, but then they increased on all the items that you use more often. They increased it to to 12%. So it was not actually a reduction. It was actually an increase in VAT. And that was shown at their budget when they showed that they made more money at the next time around. Next, number 3 under this, they provide additional VAT relief. They got a -1 based on AI because they did not provide additional VAT relief. Next, transform the tax system to make it more equitable and progressive and to encourage national growth and prosperity. A 0. Number 5, create a model for international infrastructure funds with private sector participation through public-private partnership, etc. They got a 0 because they can't find anything where they've done anything like this. Number 6, stop financial leakage in our public sector, including insider deals. They got a 0. Through fiscal consolidation, through fiscal consolidation and modernization of infrastructure, deliver public goods and services in an ineffective, transparent, and accountable manner. They got a -1. And the notes they had there was on transparency, no Freedom of Information Act, and they were not efficient, transparent, or accountable. So they got a -1 based on AI's assessment. 8, cause a comprehensive debt schedule showing payments due, principal, etc. They got a 0. Number 9, engage in debt management committee to provide public sector component to review, restructure loans, etc. 0. Now, I want you to notice something. This is supposed to be rescuing the economy, but there's nothing in here talking about the economy. All they're talking about is taxes and stuff that relate to the government. All right, and I noticed that they're actually just talking about taxes and stuff to do with bringing money to the government, not actually to the Bahamian economy and to the Bahamian people. And we should have noticed that when we read the Blueprint for Change, but we didn't really have AI good back then. Number 10, engage international multilateral finance institution, World Bank, to get lower interest borrowing, 0. Number 11, focus on public-private partnerships, PPPs, and project-specific funding, 0. Conduct, they haven't got a 1 yet. Conduct an immediate full assessment of the true state of the country's finances, 0. Revive the Revenue Enhancement Unit to ensure everyone pays their fair share of taxes. They got a -1. And I think they got the -1 because they implemented it in a negative way. Right? There are reports that they are using overhandedness with guns, etc. And also there are reports that the things they're asking for, they already have in the system. So why are you coming with guns in the people's stores and telling them to give us the same document they already have? And so that makes 0 sense. Number 14, high-end priorities pay their high-end properties pay their real property tax, 0. Ensure commercial and foreign-owned properties are on the register and properly valued for tax purposes. We a -1, and I see here the AI searched for a land registry in the Bahamas and they didn't find one, so that could be confusing. Number 16, collect revenue from international overflights. International overflights. Need glasses? Should they got a -1. So I'll keep going. Lower import and currency outflows through buy local initiatives, 0. Enhance the ease of doing business in the Bahamas, -1. There are a lot of complaints about how more difficult it is to do business now. So AI picked up good on that one. Number 19, revamp and streamline processes at Bahamas Investment Authority, Registrar General, Department of Inland Revenue, and other agencies, -1. Leverage niches and avoid industry disruption, including adverse listings, -1. Repeal the commercial. This is their plan. I don't hear anything for the Bahamian people yet. And this is about the economy. Think about that. Repeal, because they don't expect us to actually read the document. But now this is the first time that most people are hearing what's actually in the Blueprint for Change. This is their bullet points. Repeal the Commercial Enterprise Act and grant work permits where no qualified Bahamian can be found, -1. They still haven't repealed that act, and it came up the other day. 22, take immediate steps to clear all pending matters to be removed from the blacklist with proactive future monitoring. -1. They have some reasons there. I can't read it.
It seems, Lincoln, that their ambition is bigger than their ability to do all these things, because they've gotten all these things on the agenda, the blueprint for change, and they're nowhere close to even 10%, as Dr. MacGyver said earlier. Nowhere close to even 10%.
I haven't found one yet. Not one. But we'll
going on
discuss
here?
it, because we might find stuff that the AI might have searched and just might not have found, the evidence of it. But when we finish, we'll discuss
see.
all those stuff.
We'll see.
So we'll see. Work with Bahamas Financial Services Board and industry partners to progressively harness profitable niches in the public service industry. 0. Equip and engage embassies to proactively mitigate against adverse listing. 0. Again, what's in here for the Bahamian people? This is the economy now. This is the first one. Number 25, revamp the tourism model to harness the power of culture, including community-based creative entertainment, heritage, sports, religious, educational, ecotourism, and medical tourism. They got a -1. So while they did do the relays, they haven't done any of these things. 26, provide access to capital for Bahamians to establish boutique hotels, Airbnbs, cottages, fishing lodges, etc., etc. They got a 0. Amend hotel, because they actually, going after people with Airbnbs instead of encouraging them. Anyway, amend Hotel and Encouragement Act to better incentivize Bahamian-owned joint ventures boutiques. 0. Reposition Bahamas, and you can tell us more about that later, Dr. MacGyver. Reposition Bahamas Air to service international routes, improving aircraft with load share agreements. -1. The Bahamas Air can barely service the Bahamas, and they have not serviced international routes. Next, refocusing Bahamas Investment Authority as a nimble promotional arm. Bahamas Invest will focus on attracting investment and industry across all sectors. 0. They've not done that. Attract foreign direct investment. They got a 0. I know they have attracted some things, but we are not seeing things. We're seeing things that were done from the F&M administration that are being carried out, but not anything progressive from them. 31, enhance Bahamas Invest to fast track and promote new models of foreign direct and direct investment. 0. Establish an investment compliance unit to ensure that international investors comply with all their obligations under statute and heads of agreement. 0. Expand the role of Bahamas Invest to include domestic investment board to support Bahamian businesses and participate in fully with the tourism value chain. 0. Equip and engage embassies, consulates, and foreign diaspora to assist in promotion. 0. Partner with international organizations for business, cultural, tourism, educational, humanitarian exchanges. 0. Do not happen. Implement a competitive, robust, residency by investment program in line with international best practices. 0. They actually increase it from 500,000 to 750,000. Advance Bahamian interests abroad to create a greater Bahamian footprint. 0. Ensure all embassies have a trade and investment attaché to assist with attracting investment. 0. Participate actively in the UN with a view to securing non-permanent seat on interventional councils. 0. There are none. Establish Foreign Service Institute with the University of Bahamas for training development of all foreign representatives abroad. 0. Fully implement foreign services orders. 0. Actively engage and leverage the Bahamas diaspora to contribute to national development. 0. Implement international secondment programs for international companies who hold Bahamas work permits and others. 0. Increase embassies, consulates, and airlift with strategic allies in Central and South America, Africa, and the Middle East. They got a 1 for that. So we finally get a 1 because they have done things in the Middle East and in Africa, etc. Finally, we're on item number 44, and we finally got a 1. That means something that they did. All right. Commit to a dedicated building for a permanent Ministry of Foreign Affairs. 0. Strengthen international cooperative and climate change mitigation. 0. Commit to progressive immigration reform to protect our borders and allow for orderly growth of industry. That's protect our borders. 0. They reference the corruption with immigration when we had the questions with Keith Bell. 48, clear the backlog of applications with the Department of Immigration. -1. All right, no, sorry, the last one was -1, not 0. And this one is also -1. They referenced the article that talked about the backlog of 300,000 applications in our country. And they also referenced the corruption with Keith Bell. Establish specific guidelines for responses to applications. -1. Modernize the fishing industry and create opportunities for ocean scientists. So modernize fishing industries. -1. They referenced added taxes and fees for boats, etc., and they even down to the towing license to tow your boat to get there. So the government worked against the Bahamian people on that. Protect the seas, marines, plants, and animals. 0. Further develop and regulate the beach and seaport industry. Grade 0. Strengthen RBDF capacity to prevent illegal poaching and piracy. -1. They did not strengthen the RBDF. They actually held them back. Encourage renewable energy industries in offshore wind, wave, and ocean thermal energy. This is what they promised in their thing. -1. They've not done anything with ocean power. Safely and sustainably develop, and plus they have invested in more generators. I think that's what the calculation was about too. Safely and sustainably develop industries around marine biotech, aquaculture, and deep sea exploration. 0. Harness the power of the maritime industry for Grand Bahama Island. -1. Promote a robust aircraft industry. 0. The aircraft industry also has complaints. Leverage high-end tourism markets, aeronautical school, and logistics hub. 0. See, all of these were things they were promising. Nothing delivered. Build capacity to manage sovereign airspace in the Bahamas. 0. All they need is a computer that costs about $6 million, and we can manage our own airspace. Other countries have it, but we don't want to spend the $6 million. I guess I'll take from their travel money if they do that. Negotiate the defined territorial region for flight. 0. Attract airlift from non-traditional markets. 0. Make Exuma the aviation hub for the Southern Bahamas. That was their promise. 0. Exuma is not the hub for the Southern Bahamas in terms of it didn't happen. Implement competitive delivery standards for the Bahamas Ship Registry. 0. Encourage training and employment on Bahamian registered ships. 0. Promote the establishment of cruise ports for ships registered in the Bahamas. 0. This government has done none. The port that was done by the previous administration, encouraged by them, and the Carnival was always on the works. Introduce economic clusters through specialized education and sports programs. 0. Strengthen price control department and legislation for greater consumer protection. 0. Incentivize maritime and aviation industries to create logistics hubs. 0. Open and promote new tourism markets in the United States. 0. Increase and diversify international routes for direct flights to the Family Islands. They gave a -1, and one of the things they said, we don't even have proper airports. That's what was brought up. Revamp domestic route network to promote tourism connectivity. -1. Support partnerships with wealth for the collective benefit of all. I don't know what that means. -1. Encourage joint ventures with Bahamians on projects for sustained economic development. -1. Create the framework to expedite projects under the Rising Tide program. 0. Leverage the benefit of tourism by creating a unit to focus on attracting visitors interested in culturally immersive experience. 0. Ensure that Junkanoo, Rake and Scrape folklore and folk art are provided with resources. 0. Attract and host major international events and festivities, example, Carafesta. 0. Establish a national recording studio. They said they were going to do a national recording studio and National Performing Arts Center through public-private partnership. Zero. It didn't happen. Encourage productions to showcase Bahamian activities. Zero. Promote. They went in our plans and they plucked some of this stuff, but never did it.
Yes.
Yeah. Promote a virtual showcase of performances, exhibitions, and virtual tours. Zero. Renovate and resource the National Center for Performing Arts. Zero.
All these zeros.
all these.
Excuse me, all
Yeah.
these zeros. I'm thinking, did they get anything done at this particular point in time in 2.5 years? Because so far, what you've called off, and these are all things that they had planned to do. These are things that people have been looking forward to, and even the investments, for Bahamian entrepreneurs and people like that. We've been looking for these things, but what we've gotten for the most part is a lot of taxes on breadbasket items and all that kind of stuff. And here it is, you're telling me today in your live report here that there's been nothing accomplished at this particular time in 2.5 years.
Remember, it's one thing. They were doing stuff with embassies in South America and in Africa and in the Middle East. So they were traveling around these places. They put an ambassador, Sebastian, in the Middle East, and not in the Middle East, in South America. They put someone in Mr. Wilson in Africa, etc. So one so far, but mostly they got a negative. All right, which means that they didn't just not do the thing, they did it something in a negative way as a reference to that. All right. So they also said provides subventions for existing studios. So if you have a studio, they were going to give you money.
So let me ask you. So the press shouldn't the press be looking at these things now, because this is a time that they have said they had a council meeting, and they've said in their council meeting that listen, we are getting ready for the election. We want to get ready for the 2026 elections. Now, that's the date that they call it because that's when it's actually due. But it could happen way before that. As we know, Brave has the key to that answer. But at the same time, when you're looking at this whole thing, you're trying to call it election. You look at your ledger and you have not done anything much in this particular
Nothing
time.
so far.
And I'm wondering,
and we're going from their
does it make any
plans.
sense even to say they want to even think about dealing with an election at this particular time? Doesn't make any sense, does it?
They should have an election. They should step down. They should go to an election, because and I should have said this in the beginning. How a government's plan works. This is a blueprint for change. The FNM calls theirs a manifesto, but it's really a mandate. You're coming to the people with a mandate.
Yeah.
You normally do it right before election. This is the things that we're going to do. And people vote for you to say that you can do those things. So they're giving you the mandate. If you can't do things in there, you have to go back for a new mandate. And that means go back to the people. All right. So remember when Ingram was saying
they may abandon this mandate here, but they
yeah, and if you
just go
abandon it,
back.
you have to go back to election to get the permission of the owners of the country again.
Understood.
You see? So then Ingram said, if I don't get this BTT sale, I'm going to have to go to election because we've lost the mandate. That's what he's talking about. You have to get a mandate from the people. When they lost the Brexit election in England, the prime minister had to step down or they had to go to election because they lost their mandate.
So you're setting the tune now for why they must step down or why they must get a new mandate.
Yeah, we actually, based on what we've seen so far, all right, we're we're almost there, but of all, this is their bullet points, all right? And based on their bullet points, all they did was a bunch of fluffy stuff on paper because they knew we were not really going to read it. And they've done none of this stuff. Notice when they're doing things, they never really refer to the blueprint for change because they're not doing anything from the blueprint for change. They're doing their own thing. Despite of what they promised you, there's just nothing but the carbon credits in the blueprint for change.
You think people expect anything different? They're not gone with the blueprint for change, so people perhaps say, well, that was only election talk. We're not into that. And so maybe the people are going to give them a break.
How do you all feel?
Well, we have to educate them, Steve, and that's why we're having the show to let the Bahamian people know exactly what is happening. And before Charlotte says something, I thought the same thing. when I was reading the Blueprint for Change, I was like, it's like they lifted it from a textbook, and it was almost like this is the perfect country we want. But then they had problems executing it.
Mhm.
So again, you didn't fulfill your mandate, as Mr. Bain
They
said.
never
And then
intended to
went
execute it.
I don't know if they're capable of executing it. Go ahead, Charlotte.
Well, basically, the blueprint, they put something together just to say we have a plan for the country. But the mere fact that the government was unable to deliver on the blueprint, the Bahamian people should be deeply concerned. My thing is, as a government governing the country, the Bahamian people who are the executives, the shareholders, the owners, they deserve that respect. We are human beings. More than that, we are adults. We put you in place with a plan that you step forward with us with to govern our country. You're not delivering on that. That is a problem, Steve. If we continue to allow the government to get away with the things that they are supposed to do, we cannot expect the decency, respect, transparency, and order in our country. We must put our feet down. And the mere fact that our people, I don't think our people, they saw something called the blueprint. But of course, they did not have the time, or no one went through it with them to educate them on these factors that's in the blueprint. But we are doing it now. And we want to show the people our government is not delivering. We cannot continue voting for color and political affiliations, parties. We need to vote on deliverance. We need to vote on execution.
Mhm.
And as we can see, it's 3 years in and nothing has been executed.
Let me let Shanagan, Wilson, and Luther get a quick word in there before we start reading some more of this Blueprint for Change. Go ahead, Shanagan.
No, man, you can go ahead. I totally agree with what you guys are saying. In fact, I think it's really deplorable here in Eleuthera that if somebody gets injured or have a medical emergency, they would have to be airlifted to New Providence, but it would take them 4, 5, 6 hours before the flight reach for these individuals. That's crazy.
We're going to hear about their promises for healthcare in a minute. We're going to get there soon. All right.
Go ahead.
So for those of you who just tuned in, a lot of people just tuned in, we're grading the government. We inputted this stuff into AI for AI to determine what the government accomplished and didn't accomplish. Artificial intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
And so if the government didn't accomplish it, it got a 0. If it did accomplish the thing, they got a 1. And if they did something but did it in a negative way, they got a -1. And so they're going to add up all of the scores. The total possible scores is 333. And they're going to add up all the scores. And then you'll see out of 333, which is all of their bullet points, how much the government was able to accomplish. So we'll get to that in a minute. All right, let's keep going. I'm going to talk fast as I can. Provide subventions for existing studios, 0. Develop a comprehensive regulatory framework for the cannabis industry, 0. They're talking about it, but they've not done it. Encourage joint ventures in the medicine cannabis industry, 0. Talk about it, haven't done it. Develop robust regulations for the cannabis industry, 0. Create a 52-week event schedule with major events every quarter, 0. Market Bahamian culture as a main tourism product, 0. Use Junkanoo culture to drive exports in music, costumes, and art, 0. Provide educational and training resources in Bahamian creative industries, 0. Establish a tertiary school. They were going to have a new university for visual, performing, and recording arts, 0. Create a shared workspace environment for creatives, 0. Ensure Bahamian creatives are provided opportunities for collaboration, 0. Incentivize creatives to obtain an intellectual property and negotiate contracts, 0. Reduce taxes for supplies required for creatives, 0. Relaunch Sports in Paradise to attract major international sports federations and leagues, 0. Leverage top athletes' brands to reintroduce sports in Paradise, 0. Attract the IAAF relays back to the Bahamas, 1. They accomplished that. So that's 2-1 so far. Encourage college and professional basketball and football events. 0. Make government contracts open and transparent. -1. Wow, AI sees that. They actually broke the law as it relates to procurement, etc. Actively recruit SMEs to bid for government contracts. -1. Require government agencies to buy goods and services locally. -1. Use technology to expedite approval for building permits. 0. Facilitate the expansion of agricultural industry. 0. Explore expansion of salt production. Let me tell you what they promise after hearing our plan. Explore expansion of salt production in Long Island, Ragged Island, and Rumkey. 0. Sorry, that wasn't a 0. That was a -1. Sorry about that. Implement a comprehensive program to manage pine forests. -1. Pine forests were actually destroyed in Dorian, etc., and they did nothing to revamp or manage it. Address arrears with government vendors and salary arrears owed to public servants. -1. A lot of public servants aren't getting paid money that they're owed all over the place, including the police. But we'll keep going. Attract artificial intelligence experts to the Bahamas. Maybe that's why artificial intelligence giving them a bad grade. They promised to attract artificial intelligence experts to the Bahamas. They got a 0. Incentivize the Bahamian-owned iGaming industry. 0. Ensure access to computers and data with centralized community centers. 0. Provide a regulated environment for cryptocurrencies and blockchain technology. 1. They actually did that with FTX and the rest of them. Establish a high, so that's 3-1 so far, keeping score. All right. Establish a high technology zone. 0. Create a new agency to accelerate the digitization of industry. 0. Mandate all agencies to adhere to a prescribed integration path. 0. Create a digital national identity card. Jesus. -1. We don't even have national insurance card. If you lose your card, you can't replace that. And if you get a new card, you're getting a piece of paper. Jesus. Provide free Wi-Fi in designated community centers and public parks. 0. That was actually an F&M thing. Establish and own a national broadband network. So they were going to do their own internet network. You were listing us, but they didn't listen good enough. 0. Next. Compassionate. So that was the economy. That's what they were supposed to do to rebuild the economy. Ain't nothing in there for us. All right. So next, their second section was compassionate social relief and strengthened security. I don't know how they go together, but compassionate social relief and strengthened security. 1. Review minimum wage to phase in a livable wage. 0. Livable wage. Recommend to the National Tripartite Council that they move towards a minimum wage of $250 per week. They got a 1 there, so that's another 1. So that's 4 1s if you keep in record. They went over that. They went to 260, not 250. All right. Develop a framework to guide the fight against poverty. -1. Establish that every Bahamian has life skills, food to eat, water, and a roof over their head. -1. Introduce the RISE program. 0. Provide substantial benefits to many families. 0. Implement. I mean, what does that even say? How is that? How do we just let that go? What does that mean? Implement innovative solutions to allow the most vulnerable to take control and access assistance with dignity. -1. Strengthen isolation protocols in clinics and hospitals. -1. Increase speed of contract tracing. This talking about that other stuff that they just ban you off social media for, but they got a -1 on that. Provide assistance for rebuilding. 0. Implement a plan for that thing with they had the lockdowns for that goes beyond just the V word and the other thing. They got a 1 for that. All right, because I guess they open stuff up, but we don't want to discuss that because we get blocked off social media. Increase the the pension for senior citizens, they got a 1 for that. They did discuss increasing it. I don't know if the senior citizens got it yet, but they did talk about increasing it. Ensure that those, so that's another one, that's 5 ones. Ensure that those who require assistance are not falling through the cracks, -1. Provide leadership to address the needs of disaster victims, -1s. Implement, they auctioned off the supplies. So anyway, implement additional immediate relief measures for Abaco, Grand Bahama, and Ragged Island, -1. Provide, again, they auctioned off the supplies. Didn't do nothing for them. Provide grant assistance for rebuilding, -1. Implement proper programs and social relief post-disaster and pandemic grade, -1. Increase benefits for disabled, 0. Review and augment rental assistance program, -1. A lot of Bahamians claiming they can't get it, but other people from other nations are getting it. Work with tenants and landlords to reschedule rent payments, -1. Ensure the necessary reforms are executed for a safe Bahamas, -1. Strengthen the nation's border protection with increased funding for the Royal Bahamas Defense Force and Immigration Department, -1. Increase investments in the community policing unit, -1. Introduce research-based analysis and policies on countering antisocial behavior, violence, and crime, -1. Establish partnerships between the Department of Correction, BTVI, UB, and the National Training Agency, 0. Create a national second chance job program, 0. Expunge records of minor offenses due to violations and emergency orders, 1. So they got 6 1 so far. All right. That expunge 27. Expunge records of minor offenses due to violations of emergency orders. So if you got locked up during the emergency orders,
7, I think.
right? So that's 7. Okay.
Yeah, I think we're up to 7.
Okay. Work with civil society to establish a halfway house program, 0. Work with the banks to keep Bahamians in their homes, -1. Devise a plan to waive and reduce the interest payments on qualifying mortgages, -1. Collaborate with banking institutions to find ways to save homes from being repossessed, -1. Commit to revitalization of the inner cities and urban communities, -1. Section 3, reconstruction and resilience, almost there. Assist residents with much needed home repairs, 1. They did do some repairs. Partner to assist with basic needs of residents, including food, clothing, and essential home appliances, 0. Establish a task force to address the issues of lost deeds and property, 0. Address increased levels of crime with proven effective crime management measures, -1. Create a marketplace for the sale of products by vendors who have become displaced, 0. Okay, no marketplace. Develop a master plan in consultation with stakeholders for the future development of the island, 0. Make upgrades to the Rand Memorial Hospital, 0. Progress development of a new hospital with an oncology center, 0. Develop a plan for the construction of a new airport on higher grounds, -1. They're actually talking about a new airport, which they haven't done, but is on low ground still. Mandate that potable water is restored to the rest of the island immediately, 0. Complete assessment on the impact of the Equinor oil spill and related issues, 0. Establish a task force to address the issues of lost documents, 0. Provide support to businesses with the ultimate goal of keeping the doors open, -1. Develop a master plan for the future development of the island, 0. Implement disaster preparedness relief and restoration standard operating procedures, 0. Strengthening existing hurricane, listen to this, strengthening existing hurricane shelters to withstand 220 miles per hour gusts and 20-foot storm surges. Existing hurricane shelters? We don't have any hurricane shelters. We have churches, etc., that they use, but in terms of hurricane shelters, we have no hurricane shelters. All right? So they've not built any and commissioned any yet. let's keep going. Incentivize the private sector. Incentivize the private sector in reconstruction. -1. Strengthen building, construction, and enforcement oversight. -1. Invest in improving critical drainage for infrastructure. -1. Develop an effective evacuation policy. 0. Invest in coastal infrastructure and flood proofing. 0. Seek international grants to invest in natural zones, retention ponds, etc. 0. Conduct vulnerability assessment for our infrastructure and ecosystem. 0. Streamline management of NEMA and disaster. 0. Encourage foreign investment to pilot innovative sustainable development projects. 0. Refocus development around the sustainable development goals. 0. Strengthen and deepen international partnerships for climate change. 0. Begin construction of a new clinic on Ragged Island. 0. In fact, I have a video we wouldn't play it where Chesapeake was complaining that he's disappointed that this clinic and school and everything isn't finished yet. Now it's in December, and they're hoping the clinic is finished by the end of 2024, and that the school would be open by this. I mean, come on, that was from Irma, ladies and gentlemen. And Chess is the MP, and it's still not built. Irma was, what is Irma, 8 years ago?
It's longer than that. Yeah.
Wow. And so let's keep going. Complete construction of a school in Ragged Island. 0. Begin reconstruction of police station Ragged Island. 0. Begin construction of, why are you talking about beginning something? that means you're playing with words. So you still get a 0. You should be saying build or construct, not you're going to begin doing it. That's telling us that during that term, you don't plan on finish it, just beginning it. But we'll let it go. Begins construction of administration building on Ragged Island. 0. Develop a master plan for the future development on Ragged Island. 0. Seek support from the UN international bodies for climate justice. 1. They've been doing that. So that's another one. Ensure reliable sources of affordable, sustainable energy. -1. Move to reduce reliance on fossil fuels. 0. Commit to a minimum reliance on renewable energy to 30% by 2030. 0. Review BPL operations to reduce cost of electricity. -1. Create opportunities and incentives for entrepreneurs in renewable energy sources. -1. Implement reverse metering to reduce BPL consumption. -1. Engage with all stakeholders to establish a comprehensive business plan for BPL. -1. Transition, and I think you know why, because what have they done with it? Transition to LNG or some other efficient cleaner. -1. Provide 100% financing for residential renewable energy systems. I don't know what that means. That sounds like they're saying that they're gonna finance our residential systems 100%. -1. Carry out necessary infrastructure and technology upgrades to government buildings, major port dockings, facilities, etc. 0. Utilize best practices to cost reduction measures for new construction and maintenance government assets. 0. Set specific targets. You don't have anything in this verse yet?
No. How much more we have?
we almost there.
We have to go.
We almost there.
Painful listening to
It
all
is,
this.
but I want Bahamians to hear
Yeah, but
the promises they made.
how many more? Like how many lines? Like
I don't-
50 lines?
I can't see how much lines. We on page 18.
Oh my goodness.
All right. And what I'll do is I'll skip over all of this because we have the grades. But I just want you to see that they promise certain things with agriculture, with healthcare,
Yes.
and there are no more ones, so I can tell you that. All right.
Okay.
So it's a bunch of lies and promises that they've promised. So I'll skip down to their grades that they've got, because I've been going with that for some time now. Let me skip down to the grades.
Let's get
So
going.
out of so ladies and gentlemen, y'all make sure you're sitting down for this.
Okay.
And so if you're just tuning in, we allowed AI, artificial intelligence, to grade the Blueprint for Change. It searched government databases, it searched all of the internet and news articles and everything to see if they have accomplished the things that they promised. And it gave them a 1 if they accomplished it, a 0 if they didn't, and a -1 if they did it in a negative way. So that could cause them, even though they get a point, it could cause them to lose a point. You see? And so At the end of the day, they could have all of the bullet points they had was 333 items, and in the end, this is the subtotals that AI calculated.
Subtotals.
So in the first section, rescuing the economy, they got a negative 29. Negative 29 in rescuing the economy. I think that was at 116 points they had in there. A negative 29. Compassionate social relief and strengthened security, they got a negative 12. Negative 12. In reconstruction plus resilience, they got a negative 19. Negative. Jesus. Bahamian empowerment, they got a negative 9. Not even a 0. Negative 9. On a healthy Bahamas, they got a 0. 0. Commitment to sovereign wealth fund plus natural resources, they got negative 6. Because they actually wanted to get to reading that part. But they got a negative 6. They stole the sovereign wealth fund. Revolution in education, they got a 0.
Revelation.
Digital economy, they got a 0. And so the zeros were their better scores. A plan for each island, they got a negative 7. Good governance, they got a negative 14. So in total, where they could have got a maximum score of 333, they actually got a score of negative 102. That is how dismal it was. Let me just do this and then I'll let us start.
This is the first 3 years, right, in office.
This is the first 3 years because we're 2 months away from 3 years, right? So AI then generated a response. It says, here's a statement on how the PLP government has failed to deliver on the promises in its blueprint for change based on analysis of the document and research of what has been accomplished thus far. This is AI generating this now. It says, it actually wrote a scathing statement on the PLP's government's failure. It says the Progressive Party, PLP government's tenure has been marked by a striking and disheartening failure to deliver on the promises laid out in its blueprint for change. Despite the grandiose and ambitious commitments made to the Bahamian people, the government's performance has fallen woefully short in nearly every critical area. This is AI's report. 1, rescuing the economy. With a dismal grade of negative 29, the PLP has utterly failed to revive and stabilize the economy because it won't give them credit for the natural growth from COVID. Promises of tax reform, reduction in VAT, and financial transparency have been nothing more than empty rhetoric. Instead of reducing financial leakages and engaging in meaningful public-private partnerships, the government efforts have been marred by inefficiency and lack of accountability. The anticipated benefit of these economic measures have been glaringly absent, leaving the nation in a precarious economic state. 2, compassionate social relief and strengthened security. The government failed to provide meaningful social relief and enhanced security is evident in the grade of negative 12. Despite promises to increase the minimum wage, provide substantial benefits to families, and implement a comprehensive, that thing I can't say, 19 plan, the government's actions have been inadequate and ineffective. Vulnerable populations continue to suffer, and the promised social safety nets remain weak and underfunded. Construction and resiliency. With a grade of negative 19, the government efforts in reconstruction and resilience have been catastrophic. The lack of progress in disaster preparedness, rebuilding efforts, and in infrastructure development has left communities vulnerable and neglected. The promises of sustainable development and climate resilience has been ignored, and the necessary investments in critical infrastructure have not materialized. Wow. Bahamian empowerment. The grade of -9 in this category highlights the government's inability to empower Bahamians in initiatives aimed at unlocking human potential, foster innovation, and support younger people have largely been ineffective. The government's failure to provide equitable access to opportunities and support for entrepreneurial endeavors has stifled the nation's progress, etc. A healthy Bahamas, the government's performance in promoting health and wellness is stagnant with a grade of 0, despite the promises of affordable health care, sustainable national education programs, and elimination of social promotion in education. They also said they were going to end social promotion. That means just moving forward, regardless of if you qualify. The health and education systems remain underfunded and poorly managed, failing to meet the needs of the Bahamian public. Now, this is AI looking at our country with all of the articles and everything that's out there and coming to this conclusion. Commitment to sovereign wealth fund, natural resources. The grave -6 in this area underscores the government's neglect of natural resources management and transparency. The promised establishment of sovereign wealth fund and sustainable development of natural resources have been met with bureaucratic inertia and lack of strategic direction. The government's approach has been anything but robust, leaving valuable resources unutilized, etc. Skip it. Revolution in education, despite critical importance of education, etc., etc. So I won't read all of the rest of this. Almost there. But this is the conclusion that AI has come to, artificial intelligence, by looking at their plans and actually seeing that they have done almost nothing. And what it also said, I didn't get to read all of it, was that much of what they called a plan was actually a plan to do a plan. So they would say they plan to do this and they plan to do that when they get in. No, you're supposed to come in with your plan. But a lot of what they said in the blueprint was, we plan to, once we get in. We plan to create, no, we plan to create a plan to. And so that's what AI gave them a lot of bad scores for. So I know that was a long exercise, but I think I wanted to train the Bahamian people when these plans come out, read them and grade every government moving forward on what they promised you.
Exactly. Otherwise, you get fooled again.
I see persons out there saying, oh, the PLP is doing a good job. My prime minister is doing a good job. But have you read their blueprint? Have you seen what they have delivered on? Exactly. People are saying PLP is the way, but it's obvious that PLP is in the way. They are in the way of progression. They are in the way of health care, better health care, education. They're in the way of the growth of this country. They are a complete failure. And then when you reference our education system right now to the way our government is governing, it is clear that they don't want education to improve, because if education improve, we're going to be calling them out on the exact same thing we're calling them out on now.
We're looking at healthcare. Healthcare is a big issue. Immigration is a big issue. These are the two most giant issues in the country today. And yet there's nothing interesting at this particular point in time that we can go to and look at it and say, well, you know, this is what they've done. This is the good thing so far. They're still toying around with this hospital that they're supposed to be building. They still having town meetings on it. Nothing is happening along those lines yet. And of course, on immigration, it is the same thing. Nobody knows what is really going on. So if you really were to mark them on the real key things, apart from the economy, like you talked about just now, apart from the economy, you got to really look at this thing and say, you know, if you peel this banana, you got to know that all this is the skin. Nothing is happening because when you peel the banana, you get in education, nothing is happening. Healthcare, nothing is happening. And of course, on immigration, nothing is happening. Three most important areas of our development at this time. But all these people still moving into the country. We started a program today talking about Lincoln Bain, talking about people coming into the Bahamas, the invasion, that kind of thing. That is still heavy on the agenda. You didn't even talk about that yesterday, and that's what I'm saying. When you add all those things together, I don't know why somebody would be suggesting that we ready now, we battleship ready now, we want to go. I don't understand that. I hear what you're saying, and they have to have a mandate. I understand that. But at the same time, you want to keep that almost a secret, because really, if these guys are saying that this is what they want to do, my brother, you all ain't in no shape to talk
No.
about this kind of thing at this particular time.
You probably have to understand their way of thinking. If they are saying that they are battleship ready and they're ready to go, keep in mind with all of the immigrants we have coming into the country, with all of these applications that they are ready to process for
Yes.
citizenship or whatever it is they want to do, they are saying they're battle ready. These people, this government is creating a new voting bloc. They know exactly what they're talking about.
Mhm.
Yeah, we got a couple of people who join us online. Shanakan Wilson is here from Eleuthera. I want to hear what's going on in Eleuthera. But East Grand Bahama was also affected by Dorian, etc. And so we have Dexter Edwards all the way from East Grand Bahama. Welcome, Dexter Edwards.
Good evening, Mr. Bain. Good evening, Mr. McKinney, MacGyver, Charlotte Green, and Connor. Good evening to all of you. Blessings. Good to be here.
Yes, thank you for being here. Shanakan, I want to start with you. You know, the government is saying that it is ready, to bring, I guess, some kind of change ready for election, because they feel that they've accomplished some things. Tell us about what's really happening in Eleuthera, because Eleuthera is not like Ragged Island. Eleuthera is not like Maguana, where there's a small population and you expect, that they may not have certain things in place. Eleuthera is one of our major islands, and we've been hearing that you guys have been suffering. Tell me about Eleuthera and tell me about Harbour Island in specific. What does the government have anything to celebrate there?
Thank you again, Mr. Bain. As it relates to Eleuthera, there's nothing that the Progressive Liberal Party or any party that was in previous could hang their hat on. In fact, the airport in North Eleuthera is the airport that generates the second most revenue in this country, and to me, it's no bigger than a shoebox. Absolute,
Wow.
It's a disgrace to be quite frank with you. And when there are numerous flights in, the road is congested. You can barely pass it, and the visitors or domestic visitors also, or returning residents, when they come off of the flight, they have to wait out in the elements. To me, that's unacceptable, and that is country stuff.
I'm hearing that there were periods where persons had to go for days without water, without electricity, without internet. Tell us about that, man.
I just was going to get hit on that. In some parts of Eleuthera on the mainland, they're still battling with no water. And I think they had it the other day where water and sewage was given out like a gallon of water to each family or something like that. I guess so they can bathe and do all these different things. It's crazy to me. And over here in Harbour Island, the light and the water, sometimes they do a two-piece combo on you. It's like GGYA every day.
Wow.
Light off, water off. And some days the water is off 4, 5, 6 times in one day. And I'm talking about for every day. It's ridiculous. It is ridiculous. But thankfully, you have some folks that have generators that can be a bit comfortable, I guess. But what about those who can't? What about those who can't? And I don't think they're going to solve the immigration issue here on Harbour Island in particular, because I think they're bringing these individuals in, or however they're doing it. And they have these individuals working for little or nothing. If you go right now on the outside, there is a job site somewhere with some illegals on the job site where they probably paying them little to no funds because they don't want to pay the double time that you need to pay for Sunday. It's crazy. And I wouldn't even want to get to the roads in Eleuthera where there's no striping in the roads. The roads have more potholes. Sometimes I call those potholes canals. You have skate bumps with potholes in them.
In the 21st century, Jesus. I listened to a recording of the council meeting of the PLP last week, and what shocked me about what I heard. What shocked me was that one of the council members brought up that I think they're on either Crooked Island or Auckland, one of those islands, and they brought up that they also having a water problem and they haven't had water. All right, where was it? Crooked Island, yeah. And so they brought up that they didn't have water there, and they're having a serious water problem. They're not able to provide water, and sewage isn't providing water. Do you know what Fred Mitchell's response to them was? That everyone should get their own reverse osmosis system for their house. That's his response. Everybody get your own reverse osmosis system.
Wow.
He said they can start getting some pricing and whatever, but he said everyone get their own system. So in other words, no, y'all, we don't care. Y'all could go to hell. Now you're the government that's supposed to be providing this. The definition of a failed state is when the government fails to provide some of the basic necessities to the people. And the man's response was that. That was shocking and disgusting. Let's talk about East Grand Bahama. You also, Dexter Edwards, you also went to Sweetings Key recently. So tell us a little bit about what you experienced in Sweetings Key and what the people down there have to say about the government's grade.
Yes, thank you once again, Mr. Bain. Well, East Grand Bahama on the whole right now, East Grand Bahama has a lot of complaints, and I just want to address a few of them. One, starting from all the government employees, there's a lot of them that they are still working as temporary. They're not working on a contract, and their concern is, I spoke to one lady, she has been working under government for 26 years, and she is still on temporary. She's not on a contract. She's not. To let her go, this woman has none of the benefits that a permanent employee would receive. Secondly, the East Grand Bahama Sweetings Key dock was destroyed during the hurricane. And you know, the dock is the only means of the entry port to get into Sweetings Key because they don't have an airport. There is no room on Sweetings Key for an airport. There's no bridge that the people can drive over to Sweetings Key. So they definitely need boats to get in, and with a boat, you need a dock to come into. Well, the government dock in Sweetings Key has been out of order ever since 2019. That's now 5 years, and nothing has been done. On the 2 occasions that we went up there, we had to go into a private person's docking facility that they built in order to get in. The other concern is the school. The school has been destroyed, like I said, from Dorian. I took some photos, I took some videos, that this school was destroyed since Hurricane Dorian. The children from Sweetings Key has to get up early in the morning, as early as sometimes it's 5 o'clock, to take a ferry across to McLeanstown, and then to be able to take a bus from McLeanstown down to. After that, they have to rush when school is out to make sure they catch this bus to go back up to McLeanstown and then take a ferry again. I say that is torturing for those children. How can they focus? How can they learn with that type of pressure that they are faced with? And then we have the community clinic that is supposed to have been in operation. When we went over there, because they was having an event, they sent over doctors, a doctor and 2 nurses to go over to McLeanstown because the clinic there is not operational. There's no doctor and there's no nurse. And while they were doing the event, they didn't want something to happen to the people who came over there, and there was no doctor or nurse. So what they did, they created a little tent, a little booth, a tent. I rented a little tent for the doctors and the nurse to be under, just in case something happened during that event. So my thing is, what about the people who lives on that island? What if something happens to them and they need urgent doctor's attention? How will they get it? Those people will die. But yet our New Day government is still professing that they care about the people. If you care so much about the people, why are you not addressing these things? And on top of that, Mr. Bain and Mr. Steve McKinney, there is a big sign posted up in Sweetens Key showing that the government has received aid from the Samaritan Purse and from numerous U.S. companies during Hurricane Dorian to help bring this island back. But yet they still have that signed up. But the school is still not rebuilt. The dock is still not rebuilt. The clinic is still not open. But yet still they are boldly posting up this sign saying that they received aid from the U.S. to help them after Hurricane Dorian. Now we know that there were billions of dollars received from our U.S. neighbors and neighbors all around the world, because at that time the Bahamas was the center of attraction, being hit by they say it was a hurricane category 4, but I think it was a 5 because of the damage that was done by that storm. It hit the scale unlike any other hurricane. And so we were at that time at the eyes of the attention of the entire world. And the world was coming in to give supplies, to give reliefs, to bring in monies. And government was receiving all of this money. The then government was the FNM, of course. But now the PLP, the same ones who claim to be the New Day government, to bring in something new, a change from what the old government did, they are all still doing the same thing. Wow. And the people in Sweetens Key and East Grand Bahama, they are still suffering. They are still suffering. So I don't listen to the noise that these people are saying out there about the things that this New Day government is doing. I look at the facts. The facts will show you that this New Day government is not doing what they claims that they are doing. But what they are going to do, they're going to wait for the last moment when election time, and then they're going to roll out these projects and say, this is what we're doing. I see they did a development in Grand Bahama of the old Grand Union food store. They fixed that up, right? And they have fixed that up now ever since, I think it's about 5-6 months ago. But they refuse to open it because they want to use it as a trump card during election. To say now, election, this is what we did. But what good is it you having the Grand Union building there? You renovated it, but it's still shut down. Yeah. But they want to use these things when election come to say what they're doing.
Yeah. I know one of the things that AI identified to me too was that a lot of the things in their plan, you didn't need money for. There was no reason it couldn't be accomplished because you did not need money to get the majority of those things done. And those things that they did.
Artificial intelligence.
Yes, that's what it. If I read the full report, you will see it. The majority of the things in their blueprint for change, you actually don't need money for. You don't need money to do your Freedom of Information Act and a lot of other things that they did on there. It was just some policy changes, a lot of them, and so there's no reason these things shouldn't have been done 3 years in. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah, I just wanted to say that the PLP is going to have a very difficult time during election to explain all of this to the people, because before I came here, like I said, I tried to see what they did do. And even though they increased the minimum wage, I give them that, and they increased the old pensioners. But remember now, all of that was canceled out because of the cost of living.
Yes.
So in the end, they didn't accomplish anything. And that is my concern. And like you, Steve, what you said, the 3 most pressing things I think that the PLP is going to have to answer to is the cost of living. And I have down healthcare. And, you know, the healthcare has really gone really low in the Bahamas.
It does.
And those are the 3 things that are on people's mind: healthcare and, of course, crime. Everybody have those 3 things on their mind in the morning when they wake up. And if they can't solve those 3, I cannot see how they can win the next general election. I just can't see it.
Yeah. There were a lot of things with crime, some things with crime in their plans, and they accomplished nothing.
Yes, they didn't.
Yeah, it's dismal.
What has happened to the whole plan of this fighting the crime thing on the scene now? I'm talking about the police was supposed to be involved with doing a number of things, trying to prevent crime and trying to, bring it under some kind of control. And we'd had all kind of bickering about it for months and months and months and months, and then it just disappeared. It just went away. Like Clayton Fernandez and them, they just didn't do an effective job to the point where we were impressed that they are doing something finally to bring this crime under control.
But Steve, sorry to jump in again, Mr. Bain, but I agree with you. Wayne Monroe said he had a plan, but I never saw what they did. They talk about the spot, what is it, the spot shotter,
Yeah, it's got-
and then they're supposed to have all the cameras. Those are the only two things that they touted, but crime has not been reduced. So I'm trying to see how are they putting this together. So it's not working for the
Well,
people.
you know, one of the things that you look at and you see that people are just going to the courts, shooting people at the courts. Fella come to the court, shot down.
Yes.
Here it is. I mean, see, something as simple as that, something as basic as that. We're supposed to have the footage, that kind of stuff, right on the scene there because it's around the courts.
A lot of the
what is
cameras.
going on? I don't know why
This is-
these things continue.
This
to
is based
happen.
on my
You gotta ask the
inside.
question.
This is based on my inside information. A lot of the cameras, the CCTV cameras, are not working, and you saw on the news where Maria Daxon, who also has a lot of police connections, challenged the police leaders about that a lot of their CCTV cameras aren't working.
Yeah.
I saw it with my own eyes. I see that there's almost no cameras in
But
the West.
they've been asking for people who have home cameras to let them see what.
No, but then now there's a privacy issue there also. But here's the real problem. They're understaffed. And we went and toured there. And one of the complaints there was you may have 100 cameras up. And he said that they have 700 cameras. There are some big stores in America that has more than that. All right. Some big box stores got more than 700 cameras. All right. So to say this whole island of New Providence or the whole country, I don't know what they were counting, as 700 cameras, that is a disgrace. But this is the problem. Let's say you do have 700 cameras. You have two people watching the cameras. They only got two eyes, and the two of those eyes can only look at one thing at a time. So that's two eyes on hundreds of cameras. What are you gonna really do? How are you gonna be effective? And that's where another one of the problems is. The other problem is, like what happened, I'm hearing from our inside sources, the cameras are so high and they don't have high definition. So they can see the person doing the crime, but they can't see exactly who it is. All right. And so they're seeing dark and shadows and that kind of stuff, not proper lighting. And they didn't, while they could have paid the extra to get the high definition, they didn't for whatever reason. I guess someone wasn't going to get their cut. All right. So maybe that's the case. I don't know. That's an assumption, but they know that I said that just now. So they know that I was talking to some people. But they need to get the effective cameras that can actually see what's going on. All right. So like with the court situation, they can't necessarily see. You understand? That's what I am told. And so if that is the case, we can see why it's not effective. So I want to open the phone lines. Let's open the phone lines. 803-5995 is the number to call. You can WhatsApp call. Or you can call on the regular line. WhatsApp call or regular line. There's another number. What's the other number, Steve?
376-9234.
376-9234. So it's on the screen if you're watching on social media. You can see those. You can see those numbers now. 803-5995. 376-9234. So we did the grading differently today. We're actually going to run a poll. We decided not to do it because I did that whole long process. But you can call in and tell us what's going on your island. What island are you listening from right now? Tell us what the situations are on your island. All of the governments have been an abject failure as it relates to putting things in place on our family islands. And we can't continue to vote for this. Not just our family islands, but here. And so what's your situation? What grade do you give the government? We didn't do an ABC grade like we do in school. We actually did a different thing that showed that they were way subpar. And so call us and let us know what you think, how you feel. 803-5995, 376-9234. All right. So Mr. Wilson and Luther again. I noticed that the government went to Eleuthera to take down some shanty towns, and I'm hearing reports that they took down some houses, but they didn't do a complete thing. Is that what you're seeing over there? And what's the immigration situation like in Harbor Island right now?
Yeah, I heard the similar thing as it relates to that. That's on the mainland. Heard a similar thing, but like everything else is just hearsay. I don't want to go by on speculations. I'll have to go over on the mainland and take a look for myself, and that would be in the Blackwood area on the mainland. As
Yeah.
it relates to here on Harbor Island, it is almost like every morning. There's some mornings I go jogging or go walking. You see somebody new, and when you see that person new, that
Same thing
person
around the country, man.
that
Wow.
person is on the job site. But you guys know you had the exercise last year over here. 285 individuals round up, and they only said that 6 were actually illegal. That's crazy to me. We still have the same situation here, same issues.
Wow. Nothing has changed.
Not at all. And we would have our Bahamian brothers and sisters go and hail these people out and say that's their Haitian or that's their whomever it is. That's the kind of thing that we're dealing with in this country.
Yeah, we're so sorry. We had the phones were on vibrate. So if you were calling, you can see a few of you were calling. You can call back now. The phone is available. 803-5995 is one of the numbers, or you can call 376-9234. Go ahead.
Yeah, Lincoln, also too, I had an employee who just came back from Harbor Island
Okay.
a few days ago,
Mhm.
and I asked them, how was it? And they said they couldn't believe, the amount of immigrants, and they couldn't believe how much garbage was on side of the road. They actually could not believe it. I said, what? So, I mean,
Hold
all
the
of
line,
that is
caller.
happening.
Ryland.
Brighton
Beautiful
have
place like
garbage on the
Brighton.
side of the road.
My goodness.
Wow. Call you live.
Hey Lincoln, how you doing?
I'm awesome, man. How you doing?
And good evening to everybody in studio. Don't want to call all the names and waste time, but just hearing from Grand Bahama, East Grand Bahama. All governments always have said for 50 years they have the solution for Freeport. And when they get in, they say the port has their hands tied. But West and East Grand Bahama are the jurisdiction of the Nassau central government. And to hear
That's correct.
having to live and how the people on the mainland of Eleuthera are having electricity, water issues is pathetic after 50 years. And so you're going to hear, Lincoln, the other opposition, starting to say things that are going to make me laugh, because after Dorian, the worst hurricane ever in the country's history, how they handled it. It's not that it was a bad event. It's how they handled it, and how Sergeant Spurs and other people threw money, according to that last caller. And we can't tell where the money ended up yet. You see, and Steve and Lincoln, think about this year. What have we done different this year to prepare for the hurricane season? Did we go into a hill and stockpile some water and supplies so that somebody could take them out after the hurricane and feed the people?
Wow.
We've done nothing different for 50 years. I mean, you need water, and I mean, a case of water and a jar of peanut butter could keep you alive. And that stuff is good for a year. Not that it's good for you, but you could store that in the hill somewhere, dig out a cave and put a big door on it, and open up the door right after the hurricane. Because the government ain't coming for days. At least the people could eat, get some protein and drink. What have we done differently? Nothing.
Absolutely nothing.
That AI grade. And what would be interesting to take the opposition's last time in and do an AI grade on them. Because remember, it's collective responsibility.
Absolutely.
And the same leader was there.
Yep.
The leader could have stood up and he could have said, Dr. Minnis, no way on God's green earth, we're not going to go in and help these people after Dorian. He could have stood up and said, no way, we're going to put 12% on poor people's food. Four heroes in this country stood up. You remember them? Vaughn Miller,
Yes.
Matthew Pine, Reese Shipman, and Travis. And what happened to them for standing up and saying not taxing poor people? My God, I go on. Steve, everybody in studio, if you will tax my food, even England doesn't put tax VAT on food. They have different VAT rates. You pay different rate on a car versus food or school supplies or medicine. We are a failed state, and I've said it a long time. It's time to fix the Bahamas. You guys have a good day.
All this.
All right, you too.
Yes, sir.
It's actually crazy that we continue to put up with this bad performance from different governments. And it's not just to criticize governments, it's not just to say negative things about them. It's the fact of the matter is you're paying these people and you're paying them handsomely. You're also paying the leader of the opposition to do a job. And he is not doing that job. He's also miserably failing. And we need him to do his job. He's supposed to keep the government in check. Let's go back to the phone lines. Good afternoon, you're live.
Good afternoon, those who are fighting for change. I just would like to have an opportunity to speak to my Bahamian people. I mean, the Bahamas and the Bahamian people, we are in total danger. Something that Graham, the last caller, just mentioned about hurricanes and stuff like that, right? I was down in Grand Bahama during the by-election. And what was so shameful was that the media showed PLP, FNM, COI, the rallies, right? But not much so the COI rally, but our mass media didn't show how and where the people of West End and 8 Mile Rock, where they were living. Bahamas, I tell you, if you see those two cities down there, 8 Mile Rock and West End, it's almost like a bomb went off in that place. And the media are seeing, and it is today. Let's just call it as it is, not allegedly. The media is biased against reporting the truth of what's going on in the country. The media goes into the ghetto areas when there is death. When somebody got murdered, somebody got knocked down, somebody got starved, they are there. But the media today in our Bahamas, they should be all over the place, holding the government foot to the fire as well. But there it is. Michael Pintard wouldn't even do it. Michael Pintard will not stand up as the voice for the Bahamian people as the opposition and say, listen, Mr. Prime Minister, honorable member from Cal Island, who is not honorable, to say, listen, you cannot do that. But he will not do it. Why? They're the same launch. I'll just leave that part. But we should do better. We can do so much better. You mean to tell me that if a storm comes, Category 3 storm comes, they tell you go to a schoolhouse or go to a church. So now you're in the school classroom. Category 4 blazing outside. You want to go to the bathroom. Where do you go? In the corner? In a bucket? It's a shame and absolutely disgrace in our country. Downtown Nassau, we have 34 stores downtown. Souvenirs, jewelry, perfume, and alcohol. And all owned by the Indians. The majority of stores downtown Nassau is owned by the Indians. And you know what happened in our country? When we say that we are a Christian nation, they are burning incense and candles in those stores to their foreign gods. I don't want to touch on that, but we, the Bahamian people, it has to be better. Why doesn't downtown look like a beach or Atlantis? The first attraction that they see is a mess, downtown Nassau. It's a shame and disgrace. Stray dogs walking on Bay Street, all downtown Bay Street. The homeless people walking on Bay Street, digging in the garbage. Our senior citizens. It's a shame. We could do better. And now the government want to tax us. Taxes. All we get from the PLP and the FNF is taxes.
Thanks for your call, man.
Votes came out of our house. 13 votes for the PLP. And I tell you what, we're going to make a thing in this time in the coalition.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
Love you.
Appreciate you and your 13 votes. We appreciate it. We need them votes. And I want to say, the options that the Bahamian people have now is You go with this government that is failing, but they're good at PR. They're good at listen. If they put down a new manhole cover, they'll have a big celebration and they'll have the graphics and the video to make it look like they accomplished the world.
And they also have a party.
Yeah, and they'll have a party after that and fly everybody in and fly everybody out. You know, but also, like I said, the opposition is also failing us. You know, and I mean, what choice do the Bahamian people have now? Because now you have the three leaders of the opposition who are, you know, all allegedly, you know, tainted by scandal. You know, you have the leader who was, I mean, involved in that plot, all right, on camera. And the fact that the party of the FNM did not take that seriously is shocking to sensible thinking Bahamians. You had Dwayne, and he also had to resign while he was chairman and senator. You have Dwayne Sands, who also had to resign because of things he did while he was in office. And you have Shannon Dawn Cartwright, who said, yeah, I did some things, but the people above me made me do it. I mean, come on. I mean, he went in unopposed. What does that say about the integrity of this coup of FNMs? That's, I mean, we just can't have that. Let's go back to the phone line. So we just have a few minutes left. Good afternoon, you live.
Yes, good afternoon. Calling from Bimini.
Yes.
Man, Mr. Bain, Bimini is a total letdown and a total right.
Wow.
Being the first, there's spot coming out of the U.S. and the last going into the U.S. No type of progressive economy going on. And the thing is what is so overpowering right now is that you have I'm talking about a lot of Haitian migrants and many women. They just sitting around the place all over the island. You know, this is one of the worst times I've seen for the history of women. The PFP was down there a few months ago, and I don't know if they did meeting, I would say, with Chapo, who owns Bimini Bay Resort, to have the buildings, the government buildings removed right down there on some street by G Square. This was not even vetted to overnight. You know, person that who could have, you know, get the machinery to do the teamwork that he had done. Now, he has all the remaining basic spare property of Bimini. I think I heard some message about it, selling the hotel, but that's it to me. What I want to also stress is that Bimini has one banking institution, Bank of the Bahamas, now in Bimini. There's no West Virginia, there's no money ground, there's no way for people to really progress from that country. Even when you want to order things from the United States, or have things come into the Bimini, there is no adequate need or avenue to have these things done. And it really belongs to us in Bimini that none of these things are being committed. And what is the reason for it?
Wow.
One mail vote that comes there, he chooses to come, you know, and it's like the prices is like 3 times the price you now saw.
All right.
Went to the store and she said, you know, 5 pieces of it. She picked the top shop. It was $15.
Wow.
5 pieces of it. You know?
Caller, we gotta run. We're out of time.
Okay.
All right.
Here, we just want to let y'all know what's going on in Bimini.
Thank you. I appreciate it. All right.
The complaints are coming in. That's for sure.
Yeah, they raised the airline fee. Yep, they are taxing us in every way they can. They raised the airline fees recently. So now it's more expensive to go there. They put fees on dogs. So in summary, today we graded the government because they called for election. They have done 2.4% of the things, the bullet points that they promised to do out of 333. They have done 2.4% of those things that they said that they were going to do. That is utterly disgraceful. We need change, Steve.
No question about it.
We need it.
I wonder what MacGyver has to say, and of course, Charlotte Green has to say.
Let's give everyone a closing remark before you go, and the two persons online about the government and their grade, where we are.
Okay, AI said 2.4%.
Yes.
I'm not AI, so
Yeah.
I came here and I said they did 10%, which is not much better.
Yeah.
But I just think that there's going to be a lot of time between now and election when we're going to really start letting the Bahamian people know that they have not fulfilled their mandate, and it is going to be time for change. So I'm going to make a suggestion to the PLP to sit this one out, regroup, and then come back in 2030 and try again. But I don't think you're going to be successful at the next general election, not at the way they're treating the Bahamian people.
Fred Mitchell asked you,
What?
any more jokes? You got to be serious. You can PLP
Wow.
sit out. Go ahead, Charlotte.
Well, again, the PLP prides themselves on the job that they are doing. But as it relates to economic growth, the health reform, education reform, and environmental sustainability, if we can take a look around, visually take a look around us and see what's going on, everything that they say that they have accomplished, you can see it. You can see it. But you know what, Steve? This is also a spiritual warfare. We have veils. Our people have veils over their eyes and ears. So whatever they are told, they take in. But if we can feel and go through the communities, when the prime minister can come on an interview and say he feels very good, he feels optimistic because the jobs has increased. People are now working, but in the communities, in these homes where people have no light, they have no water, they have no food. What people are he speaking of? Is he speaking of that are employed? Our people are hurting in this country. Our people are hurting in the medical care, in health care. Education is deplorable, and I know and I understand why they want education to remain the way that it is. Because uneducated people, these people will rise.
Yes. And so, Mr. Shanakan Wilson, on the government performance, particularly with Elutra, what do you have to say?
As it relates to their performance and their grade, I would go with the grading system that they have in the schools, and I would give them a U. And I would even be inclined to give them an X, because it's deplorable here in Elutra. It's actually deplorable. And my message is for the younger voters out there, or first-time voters who are probably listening on the show. I know you guys have seen your parents fail, voted for both failing parties. This is your time now to save your parents. Don't mind that they say they can put you out the house. No parent is going to put their kids out the house and allow them to just suffer. This is your time now to save your parents. They said it wouldn't have made a difference in 1992 when the FNM was about to win with the younger people, and you see what happened there. So this is your time now.
All right, East Grand Bahama, Mr. Dexter Edwards. What grade you
Mr. Bean, Mr. Bean, when you began to give the intel for the artificial intelligence intel on the government report, it got me so drowsy and so burdened after hearing the negative and the zero.
Me too.
I had to get up. I was almost falling asleep. I had to get up to wash my face because I don't like hearing the negatives, and zero, zero, zero. And that's all we've been hearing from this government. And I just want to say to the government, if you really care about the people, all you have to do is do what it takes to put your people in a comfortable place. And you don't have to campaign so hard. The way you do election after election, your works would speak for you. Let your work speak for you. Don't let your money have to put you back in power, but let your work put you back in power. And that speaks to good governance.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Steve, I just want to quickly let the Bahamian people hear Fred Mitchell's message quickly, just probably like 20 seconds of it, to the Bahamian people last week. He sent this message out to basically let Bahamians know to stop begging your MP. I was shocked hearing that coming from him. You know, and I want people to hear this. Listen to Fred Mitchell.
Let's get started. Good morning. This is Fred Mitchell, Chairman of the Progressive Liberal Party, Minister for the Foreign Service, MP for Fox Hill. Today is Friday. It's the 28th of June, 2024. It's payday for public servants. I hope you're able to put away something for a rainy day. Some people criticize me for suggesting this every month, but it's because I know that as an MP, the number of times people come to me without being able to handle the smallest emergencies, and I'm unable to use the resources available to me to help resolve their money problems. Social services is unable often to help on a timely basis. It must be very embarrassing to come begging an MP for money. So it seems to be that one safe course is to try and save money for that rainy day. It's not easy, I know. I'll try. I want to thank all.
He said it must be very embarrassing to have to come to an MP. But he say save your money for a rainy day. This is after this man and others have been living off of us. He's been living, his whole career has been living off of us, the people. And many of these politicians, they made this economy the way it is. We have raised their children, we have educated their children and their families, and now when we are in need because of their lousy policies, that's how they treat us. Lastly, we're going to be next week. We're gonna this weekend we're going to be in Grand Bahama, and so we're going to arrange a town meeting for a general meeting for persons to come out and see us and talk to us. We're going to be there, so that's going to be on Sunday. So stay tuned to my social media this week for the location of that. So that's going to be on Sunday at 5 o'clock. We'll be there in Grand Bahama, and so we want all of you to come out. You're going to get to meet me and some of our team, some of our people. We'll let you know the location on our social media pages, so make sure you take the time to be there. And lastly, Steve, there's a young man who was killed. He was knocked off of his bike. He was one of the young people that came to my church. He was a very pleasant young man, almost too good to be true, the way he behaved and how he helped people and looked out for people. A few years before I met him, coming to our church, I was sitting at home and I heard a gunshot. And I ran outside and there was a man in Palm Key who was dead because he was just asking his employer to pay him. He had not been paid for weeks and weeks, and he was like, I have children that I have to help, and the man was shot dead in cold blood by a shotgun. That was this young man's father.
What?
I was there. I saw his father laying on the ground. A few years later, they brought the young man to me. So we were able to help him out and help him get on his feet, help to do some things, to buy him clothes and that kind of stuff. And we took him in, and we take him to the movies on Sunday. The mother had lost it. The father worked, and he took care of his whole family. The mother didn't even have to work, but she lost it when she lost the husband. And so, you know, she was very protective of them, and we took them in our wings. They're of Haitian descent, but we took them on our wings because they're humans. And it was such a good young man. And he bought a motorbike, and someone decided to just knock him off his motorbike, kill him, and take the motorbike. This is the country we living in.
Take the motorbike?
They took the motorbike and killed him.
It's a story I saw in the newspapers.
Yes. His name is James Lee Richmond. Just killed that decent, respectable young man. You could never hear anyone say anything negative about him. He's annoying where he's so helpful and so loving. It's almost like it isn't real. But he is a loving young man, and so much young people are being snuffed out because we have a corrupt government that is looking out for criminals instead of looking out for the people of this country. And we have a police force who is more intent on targeting innocent people in this country. You bring in the big guns in the business, and you even carry the big guns in the drug house. You harassing law-abiding citizens, but you don't want to touch the criminals? You want to change laws to protect them? Come on, man. And guess what? As much as they just killed that young man in cold blood, now because of the new gang laws, all they have to do is say it was retribution or it was as a result of gang violence, and they can't get the death penalty. If they say it was retribution, they can only get up to 20 years. That's what Brave Davis just did for the criminals.
Empower them.
Our country is falling apart. But I want to thank everyone for tuning in, ladies and gentlemen. We'll definitely see you all next week. Stay tuned. If you're in Grand Bahama, we're going to be in Grand Bahama. We'll go live again this week to just give you an update and let you know exactly where we're going to be and what we're doing. But if you're there, come out and see us. Come and speak your piece and come hear what we have to say. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in as always. And we thank Steve for this opportunity. And God bless you and God bless the Bahama land. See you next time.
Thank you, and looking forward to seeing you in Grand Bahama, Mr. Ben.